connection to this bird. It goes back for 60,000 years.
I think that's mine.
Maybe Mia needs a new microphone. But keep going, we'll get you one.
Welcome guys, my name's Mia, and Australia could be referred to as the land of the parrots. We have 56 different species of parrots that call Australia home. Hopefully you guys have seen some of them around before. They have a huge range. They range in colours and sizes. We have rosellas, we have lorikeets, corellas, cockatoos. Really none more iconic than our Sulphur Creseted Cockatoo. We have one coming out right now. Her name is Quasi. She's a female Sulphur Creseted Cockatoo. Oh, great flying, Quasi. Thanks for joining us. This is a really loud bird. If you guys have heard them before, you might know what I'm talking about. Their calls can actually reach up to about 130 decibels. To put that into perspective for you, a chainsaw is only 115 and a jet engine is 140. And these guys come together in really large flocks, maybe upwards of 100 birds, so you can only imagine how loud they are when they all come together and call. They are one of Australia's success stories. They've done a really great job at adapting to the world that we've changed around them. Not all of our birds are quite as lucky though. Most of our wild birds need wild places where those guys are found in and amongst us, in our parks, our backyards, our golf courses around here in the sanctuary. Some of our birds need really large territories, which they can't find when we put towns and cities in amongst them. And what they probably mostly need is actually old trees, because old trees form old growth hollows that these birds need for their nesting sites. These are red-tailed black cockatoos. On my hand here is Karak, she's a female. Flying up behind you all now is Ivory, she's another female, and on the stag there is Pinjari, and he's a male. And this is a bird that we say is sexually dimorphic. What that means is that males and females look different from each other. So Pinjari on the stag there behind me, he's totally black in his feathers, except for one really solid red band across his tail. The females are a little different, however, they've actually got little yellow speckles on their head and on their shoulders, and then they've got a beautiful stripy tail across their back with some sunset colours. So they've got some yellows, some oranges, some reds. Karak's showing you as she heads up to that stag right now. They are unfortunately a threatened species in Victoria. They actually can only feed off native plants. They can't feed off our invasive species. I'll just stand still for a minute and change it after. And so they're not found as commonly around this area. Some of other animals have actually adapted much better to our invasive tree species, so they're able to survive a lot better around us. So if you do see some some black cockatoos in your area, you might actually find that there are yellowtails instead of that specific species. The cockatoos all have one thing in common, and that is the feathers on top of their head, so a crest, because that's the mobile feathers that they can actually put up and down, and really changes how they look. This is Matilda, she's a pink cockatoo, and you can see that those feathers on top of her head, as she raises them, you can see those beautiful, spectacular feathers with those dark pink colours. And this is kind of like a communication system for these birds. So they can sometimes use those really loud vocalizations, but sometimes they want to be quiet and they can instead use their body language, just like we can, to do things like wave and say, yep, very good. And so it's really important. It actually tells each other to keep a lookout. It might mean something really cool and exciting is happening nearby, or maybe something scary is happening nearby. So it's kind of part of their safety system within a group.
Next group. So as well as meeting some beautiful parrots today, we're also going to have a look at some birds of prey. That is a really broad category. So any bird that eats other animals is a bird of prey. Penguins, pelicans, kookaburras, for example. But we're going to focus on a specialised group called raptors. Raptors all catch their food with their feet, so they've all got really strong feet and sharp talons. They also have a curved, meat-tearing beak. Now the one we're going to start off with today is really small and really fast, so if you've got your camera there, good luck. We're going to meet the smallest raptor of all in Australia, and this is a local species, so you may have seen them in the area. And before we let this bird out, we do just want to make sure that all of our parrots are home nice and safe and sound, because we do fly parrots at the same time as other parrots. We just don't fly parrots and raptors at the same time. You can probably figure out why. Raptors do sometimes eat other birds, and we want to make sure that all of our birds stay nice and safe and sound. So that's all right, we can just bide our time until this bird is ready to join us. So this is the Australian kestrel. It's the smallest species of raptor in Australia. And this is Rusty. She's fully grown, but she only weighs about 130 grams, so less than your phone. And she's part of the falcon family. She's got blade-shaped wings, really good turning and cornering abilities, and a beautiful hover there from Rusty. And she caught that piece of food in midair. She's pretty agile. They're really active little hunters. So they catch a lot of insects right out of midair. They also hunt tiny little birds and small reptiles and mice, and all of that active hunting takes a lot of energy. They're sort of like the sports cars of the bird world. They move really fast and they burn a lot of fuel. So to conserve their energy, you do sometimes see them up on a nice high vantage point. They're using a technique which we call perch and search, which means they let their eyesight do the work and they wait until their prey reveals itself. They're also able to hover though, which is this amazing behaviour here. Beautiful, Rusty. Oh no, bad throw on my behalf. So anything that doesn't get caught by Rusty is not down to Rusty's skills. That is 100% down to my skills. So Rusty is able to keep her head in an entirely stationary position when she's hovering. She tends to face into the wind to achieve that, but they can also hover in really stormy conditions as well. Now this is a way you can identify this species because there's only a couple of birds around here that do hover, and the black-shouldered kite is the other one. But if you see one with this reddish-brown coloration, you might have spotted one of these. That was Rusty, the Australian Kestrel. She's done an awesome job out here today. Well done, my friend. Thank you, everybody. Now you've probably gathered that we do a fair bit of training with the animals here. Training is a really important part of our day. And oftentimes we're training animals to participate in their own health care, including medical procedures. So you can actually train an animal to opt in or give consent for a procedure. That's got a really good outcome for the animal. Now, an animal giving consent is usually a thing that we set up with their body language that we can interpret, and they need a clear way to tell us if they want us to start and stop. So I'm going to show you a training session now with a bird that has a medical condition. Her beak grows too long. It doesn't wear down the way they typically do with this species, and she needs to have her beak regularly filed or clipped. But we don't restrain her to do this. We've trained her to do this voluntarily, and I want to show you how we set her up to do this. This is just a little attachment we made on this perch, just a piece of wire with some wooden dowel. But we've trained her to hold on to this piece of wood with her beak. And that does three things at once. It gives the bird a job to do. It keeps her beak in a nice still position so we can bring the file up to where her beak is. And most importantly, this is how she gives consent for this procedure. So if she's holding onto this piece of wood, she's saying, yes, I'm ready for that file. And if she wants to say stop, all she has to do is just let go. And we'll always respect that. And we have worked this up to the point now where we can fire her beak with a power file. This is a Dremel. So this doesn't hurt. It vibrates a little bit like an electric toothbrush. But let's get this bird out here and we'll have a look. Now, ironically, this species is called a long-billed corella. Her name is Fergie, the long-billed corella. And their beaks are typically longer at the top than the bottom, but Fergie's is about twice as long as the typical long-billed corella. And if we want to see whether she's up for any beak filing today, I'm going to head over to the other side of the perch and we'll see whether she is straight on that. So while she's holding on there, I'm going to turn this Dremel on, and as long as she's got her beak on that beak rest, I'm going to touch that on the tip of her beak. Then I'm giving her a little piece of her favourite food as a reward. And she doesn't need to be in position there for very long, because I like that I can do a lot of repetitions. But you might be able to hear that file making contact. She's taking the husk off of that little seed reward, and then she's asking for another one. I really love this setup because she can fly home if she wants to, but she can also tell us to stop without having to do that. She can just tell us to stop by taking her beak off of that piece of wood if she wants to. It's usually me that has to tell her we've done enough though, because that's something that works really, really well for Fergie. Now Fergie, while you're here, girl, I want to see whether you want to do some other behaviours for me. Do you want to show me just your right foot? Beautiful. What about your left foot? Just your left foot. Good job. And you want to... She's taken herself off home. That's okay. So we'll see whether Fergie wants to come back out here again. So she does have the option to leave whenever she wants to. And if she comes back out, she's going to get some more training opportunities, but she never ever gets punished if she goes back early. It's just an opportunity for her. Thanks, girl. So this is Fergie, the long-billed corella. Do you want to show us your wings? Beautiful. Do you want to show us how you turn around? Nice. And then now do you want to head off home? Good job. That was Fergie, the long-billed corella.
Yeah, she did an awesome job, and long-billed corellas do have that longer upper beak for a really good reason. They actually use it to dig in the ground, a pretty cool behaviour from a bird. They are found in Victoria, they're found around where we are living, so if you guys have seen them around, you might actually have seen them foraging or digging in the ground, really normal for that species of bird. Also normal for some of the other parrots we've already met so far, but for some birds they actually never come down to the ground at all. They spend all their time really high up in the forest canopy, and this is a really good example of that type of bird. This is Les, he's an eclectus parrot, and as he flies around, have a look at the red colours underneath his wings. He's also got some blue on the sides of his wings, And you might see, oh, he's going to do one more lap. Good job, Les. You might see as he comes into land here, he's just this brilliant green colour. And the Eclectus parrots aren't found at all in Victoria. They're actually found in the tropical rainforests of far north Queensland. And this green colour that he is now actually really perfectly matches the leaves of those rainforest trees. And it's really important that he is this colour because up above him might be a bird of prey or something looking for a little feathery snack. So this helps him to camouflage and to blend in and to help keep him safe. Really important colour for Les. There's a really good reason why he's up in those treetops, and that's because that's where the food is. So he's spending a lot of time throughout the year foraging for food, and he'll take that food down below and he'll take it to his girlfriend. He'll take it to his second or third or fourth or fifth girlfriend maybe. So he's doing a lot of work. He's a really hard-working boy. That's not a seed. There you go, you did an awesome job, Les. You can head off home. Down below are the females. They're actually defending their nesting hollows throughout the year. And what we actually need out here is a glove. Sean, if you wouldn't mind bringing me a glove. What they are doing is defending their nesting hollows throughout the year. So we've got females for about 8 months down below, and they're not just collecting for themselves, they're actually collecting food from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 males. So it's not really the brilliant and bright green males that get the food, get the female I should say. It's actually the one that brings her the best snacks throughout the year, which is a pretty good system. Thank you, Sean. We've actually got a third person around the back just for when we forget to bring things out here, they can come and bring it up. Not having a great day out here today with my radio and microphone. But what we are looking at here is some birds actually really are brightly coloured. The males are brightly coloured and that really attracts the females, but that type of bird actually just brings her lots of really nice snacks. Pretty good system. I think maybe we should think about that, think about doing that maybe, or maybe I'll come back to the Eclectus parrot in my second life. But we are going to move on actually from the colourful world of parrots to a bird that's really deliberately a neutral colour. So for the same reason though, this bird wants to camouflage, and it's camouflaging so that it can blend in, so that it can catch its prey, not to hide away from its predators. And I'm just going to stop talking for a second so we can hear the vocalisation of this owl. Do you guys hear that? This is a barking owl. His name's Skexy. So that two-note call that we're hearing right now sounds a little bit like a small dog barking, and so that's how they get that barking owl name. This is a nocturnal bird of prey, so a nighttime hunter, and they have a range of adaptations to help to catch their prey. And one is certainly these colours. As they blend into the bark of trees, they can sit there and so that their prey can't see them at all. But they also have some big, beautiful yellow eyes that you might see look like they're heading directly towards you. But don't worry, you can see in incredible detail. Owls have actually lost the ability to see in colour. They only see in black and white. But despite that, they still see in much greater detail than we do. And they actually have a particular focus on movement in the forest. So they will look for their prey. Their prey might include things like possums and gliders, so maybe small mammals like rodents. They also hunt maybe other small birds, maybe reptiles. And they can use those big beautiful eyes to see the movement and detect it, and that's when they know that they need to swoop down and catch their prey. And they will throw those really large, strong, powerful feet out at the last minute so they can catch those prey items as well. But he doesn't actually have eyeballs like we do. Owls actually have eye tubes, which means that the eyes don't move at all in their head. Their eyes stay completely still, a little bit different from us. He still needs to look around, and what he does move instead is actually his head. So they have twice the amount of neck bones as we do. They can actually turn their head in an arc of 270 degrees, which is much further than we can. And so that allows him to look around instead and see his prey. He does also have ears, slightly more difficult to see than our ears, but they're there nonetheless. But owls actually have asymmetrical or triangle ears, which what we mean is that not only do they have one on either side of their head, but they actually have one slightly higher and one slightly lower than the other, which helps them to triangulate their prey. They can not only tell if something's left and right, but also if something's slightly higher or slightly lower, which is a really cool way for them to detect their prey in the middle of the night. Now, he actually has frayed flight feathers, which means his wings are completely silent as he flies. You can imagine that's incredibly helpful when you're hunting your prey. He's not being incredibly silent. Whilst he's out here with us, he is making a lot of noise. And this chirrupy noise that he's calling, we kind of think of as like a happy noise for a barking owl. He is out here getting his favourite food, and he's having a nice fly around. So that chirrupy noise he wouldn't be making as he was hunting. But they do have one final call I want to talk to you about, and that's a call that sounds exactly like a human scream. It's actually so convincing to be a human scream that people have called the police for the police to come out and find these pair of owls in a nesting hollow. Nothing bad's happening at all. But they do make that noise when they're defending their nesting hollows, really important noise for protecting themselves. That was Skexy barking out. He did an awesome job out here with us today.
He's fun, isn't he? Don't worry if he comes close to you when you fly overhead. You don't need to duck out of the way, because actually the lower you duck, the lower he will fly. If this is the first time you visited, you might not realise that, but every presentation here is different. We might fly different birds each time, and that's because every bird has the choice to decide whether they'd like to come out and participate. So we never promise you're going to see a particular bird on any given day, but all the birds you do see have opted in. Now, there is one more bird of prey I'm hoping to introduce you to just before that next bird comes out here. I just wanted to quickly say thank you for visiting today. We have conservation programs here for 27 different species. That includes threatened mammals like Tassie devils and leadbeater's possums, and some of the world's most endangered birds, orange-bellied parrots and helmeted honeyeaters amongst them. We have breeding programs for threatened reptiles, invertebrates, amphibians, and we couldn't do that especially without our members, and I can see a lot of you here today with your lanyards on, so thank you once again for visiting. So that is Callista, that's the boyfriend of Quasi, who we saw at the very beginning, Pinjari, the red-tailed black cockatoo, making a little bit of an encore there. And the final raptor we're going to have a look at today is 10 times the size of the Kestrel we saw earlier. So this is Australia's third largest raptor, known as a black-breasted buzzard, and this one's name is Beatrice the black-breasted buzzard. She's brought to you by the letter B. She is a broad-winged raptor, and her wingspan can reach 1.5 meters wide. Despite the size of those wings, she has a relatively lightweight body, and that makes them really good at soaring and gliding, and they can ride thermal currents for hours at a time, but they're also quite comfortable down on the ground. And that's pretty unusual for raptors. This species does a lot of their hunting on the ground. A large part of their diet is carrion or dead animals, which they find on the ground. They also are famous for raiding the nests of other birds. So they eat the eggs and the chicks, both birds that nest up in the trees, but also birds that nest down on the ground. And that includes birds like swans and brolgers, and the biggest bird of all in Australia, which happens to nest on the ground, which is an emu. They lay an egg that looks like this. Now this one here is a replica, but it's the same size and shape. It's got a really thick shell, and to break through that shell, she needs to use a tool. She needs to look for a rock that's the right size that she can pick up in her beak and carry. And she's waiting until I'm throwing out just the right rock for her. That's obviously not the right rock. How about this rock? I'm running out of rocks, girl. There we go. Last one's a winner. Have a listen to this. She's going to line it up. Smashes it open just like that. Amazing. So she's used that rock as a tool. That would provide enough food for a buzzard in the wild for about 3 or 4 days. So that's a really worthwhile behaviour for her to do. And we didn't need to teach her how to do that. That's an instinctive behaviour. They all know, as soon as they're hatched, the very first time they come across an emu egg, how to break into it. They may need to refine the exact skills of how they throw and what they line up and what kind of rock they want, but that instinct to grab a rock, smash open that big emu egg is there from the very beginning. And they're found in Central Australia, so it's not that easy to see them in the wild. They're about 1,000 kilometres from here, so it's a nice opportunity here, and we really hope you enjoyed being able to meet Beatrice and all of the other spirits of the sky today.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please enjoy the rest of your day here at Healesville.
Thank you.
Thank you.